how it is. We've all been there. You get this huge burst of inspiration, this sudden decision to finally make a change, build a new habit, become the person you really want to be. You start with the absolute best intentions, but then somewhere along the way, that fire just fizzles out. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly why that happens. Just think about it for a second. Maybe you see someone just masterfully playing the guitar and you feel that little pull, right? That thought, I want to do that. You decide this is it, this is the year. You go out, you buy the instrument, maybe you sign up for some lessons, you're totally ready to go. And then reality hits. Your fingers hurt, you can't get the chords right for the life of you, and that beautiful music that was in your head sounds like, well, not that. All of a sudden, that initial drive just evaporates and the guitar starts collecting dust in the corner. So why? What is the real difference between just starting something and actually seeing it through?
Now here's what's really interesting. We almost always blame ourselves, right? We think, oh, I just don't have enough discipline, or I lack willpower. But the real issue isn't the engine, it's the type of fuel we're putting in it. See, there are different forces that drive us, and honestly, not all of them are built to last. So, the whole key here is to understand these different forces. I want you to think of it like a ladder of action. It's got 4 rungs, and in this explainer, we're going to climb it together, starting right at the bottom. So let's get into the first driver. All right, we're starting at the very first rung, the one that kicks off pretty much every journey we ever take. It's that initial, easy-to-ignite little spark we call interest. Interest is, well, it's simply your attention being captured by something new, something unexpected. Imagine you're watching me right now and all of a sudden a lion just casually strolls by behind me. You'd immediately stop listening to what I'm saying and your focus would be entirely on the lion, wouldn't it? That, right there, is interest in its purest form. And that little thought experiment perfectly shows why interest is such a terrible fuel for long-term effort. Our brains evolved to constantly scan our surroundings for threats and opportunities, so they're literally designed to be easily distracted. And of course, modern technology has perfected the art of hijacking the system. Every notification, every ad, every new post is like a tiny little lion fighting for your attention. Interest gets you to look, for sure, but it's never gonna get you to stay. So if interest is just a tiny spark, what happens when it actually catches fire? Well, that brings us to the next rung on our ladder, a much, much more powerful driver we call excitement. Excitement is what happens when that initial interest meets a really desirable outcome. So you don't just see the guitar anymore. You picture yourself on stage, playing flawlessly. You don't just have a business idea, you see yourself on the cover of a magazine. You are totally energized by the destination. The problem? Excitement is so focused on that amazing final reward that it completely ignores the difficult, challenging, and let's be honest, often boring path you have to walk to get there. And this is exactly where excitement hits a brick wall. The very first time you hit a real obstacle, a chord that's too hard, a concept that's confusing, a frustrating setback, that flame of excitement just sputters out. It was only ever prepared for a victory lap, not for a real fight. So what happens when you are prepared for the fight? Well, that's where our next driver comes in. So how do we push through that wall? This brings us to the third rung, which you could call the true engine of progress and achievement, perseverance. See, perseverance looks at that exact same obstacle that snuffed out excitement and asks a totally different question. Okay, how do I get over this? People who persevere don't just have a goal, they have a reason. The obstacle isn't a dead end anymore, it's just a necessary step on the journey. And that's because perseverance is powered by something much, much deeper. That power source is motivation. And motivation, really, at its core, it's just the story you tell yourself. It's the clear, compelling answer to that one simple question. Why? Why are you learning this instrument? Is it to connect with a family member? To express something you can't quite say with words? Or maybe to prove something to yourself? And when that powerful why meets the day in, day out discipline of practice, whether we're talking about a guitar, a new language, or a business plan, something incredible happens. Obstacles stop being things that stop you, and they become the very things that make you better. Each one you overcome is a brand new step up that ladder. Interest, excitement, perseverance. You know, for most goals, that's the whole story. But there is one final rung on the ladder. It's rare, it's really hard to define, and you absolutely cannot force it. It is the ultimate driver,
passion. In Turkish, the word used for this is aşk, which goes way beyond our typical idea of passion. This is not just a strong interest. This is an all-consuming fire. It's a force that focuses your entire being, your mind, your heart, everything, onto a single point. You might not even know why you're doing it. You just know, deep down, you have to.
This is the drive that fuels historic breakthroughs, world-changing movements. Think of the scientist spending decades searching for a cure, or the activist dedicating their entire life to a cause. When you see someone working tirelessly, pushing the absolute limits of what seems possible, they aren't just persevering. They are possessed by a passion that makes all that immense effort feel like the most natural thing in the world. So, we've climbed the ladder of action, all the way from a simple little spark to an all-consuming fire. What's the most important thing to take away from this journey? Let's break it down. So here's the bottom line. Interest and excitement are great, and they'll get you to the starting line, but they will never get you to the finish. Real, lasting achievement is built on the engine of perseverance. And that engine, it runs on only one thing, a powerful, personal answer to the question, why? And that brings us to the final question, the one I want to leave you with. For that goal you keep starting and stopping, for that skill you desperately want to master, for that big change you want to make in your life, what's your story? What's your real motivation? Because once you find that, you'll have found the fuel that never, ever runs out.